Welcome to What's New with CareerForce, February 6, 2020. What we're talking about today and speakers, communications update. We have Laura Winnie here with us today, Rita Beatty, and Darren Eck.
Yep.
And did you want to say anything more? Okay. And they will cover the social media, policy and development, ideas and examples. And myself, Lisa Snyder, I will cover the CareerForce MN.com update, and then the Employer Navigator update. Jackie Buck will cover that, and the topic there would be the employer engagement. So we have the communications update.
Okay. And so Laura, Darren, and I will both be speaking during this section. What we're going to be talking about is social media. Just a quick overview, we're going to just letting you know that we do have a CareerForce social media policy in development. We do a lot of review with various groups, so it'll be some time before that is finalized, but we do have a target of getting that done by June 30th at the latest. We're also going to walk through some ideas and examples of social media posts, campaigns coming up during the webinar. So if you want to just go to the first, so the CareerForce social media policy is in development now, and it's part of a slate of policy development. 7 different CareerForce policies are in various stages right now. As I mentioned, they go through kind of an intensive review process by both job service and LWDA leadership, and then go on for final MOB, GWDB, and DEED approval. The CareerForce local policy, just as an update, is awaiting final approval now from the MOB chair, GWDB chair, and our Deputy Commissioner for Workforce Development. That CareerForce local policy was reviewed at the last MOB Ops meeting, and there were no substantive changes. It was also reviewed at the latest Job Service Manager meeting, and also no substantive changes at that. So that is nearly approved. Social media policy is much further back in development, but we are working on it now. So today is really about getting your input on social media, how you use it, how you'd like to use it, what's working for you, what isn't, answering your questions as best as we're able, and discussing how DEED communication staff can help leverage social media to raise awareness about your CareerForce events and services. And we'll also be sharing some ideas and examples. Darren has quite a few interesting examples to provide, including analytics from ad campaigns that he did for various groups. So our first kind of common question that comes up is, and just wanted to get this out there, and this is, again, following current DEED social media policy, but this is what we envision also to be included in the CareerForce social media policy. The question is, can I start my own social media account and call it some version of CareerForce? And the answer to that is no. And the reason why is to avoid confusion. That's one of the reasons. It's best to have just one account, so that way people aren't seeing multiple accounts that kind of look similar and they're trying to figure out what's what. It's also a problem if you start an account and then don't post regularly. If you don't monitor comments, that's a big problem, because then you're not responding to your customers. And also it can be an issue if you're not archiving your post content. And I don't know if, Laura, you want to say anything more about that.
Sure. Under state data practices, guidelines, and things, we have to be able to respond to requests from the media and from others who might be making a data request. And sometimes that could include what we posted on social media about a conference or an event or things like that. And so DEED does have a way. We do a weekly report of all of our tweets, so we're gathering that information so that over time, if we do get a data practices request, we can answer that. And so that same issue would arise for any levels of city or county government. You fall under those same kind of rules that deed does. And in terms of that post regularly, I would just comment on that too. By regularly, we mean multiple times a day. So I don't know, Darren, you want to throw a number out? How many times a day do you post on the deed channel, for example?
I would say 3 to 5. I think for us, we like to do like at least 15 a week on the deed channel. So.
Yep, and so that's what when we're saying posting regularly, that's the type of commitment that you need to put into a channel to get some traction.
Okay, and then in addition, for deed staff right now, under the current deed social media policy, deed resources, including deed staff time, are not to be used towards the maintenance of additional websites or social media accounts. So that would be anything beyond, the official deed website, official deed or CareerForce social media accounts. So that's another reason. And then just wanted to, make that reminder too that if you're not deed staff and you work for an entity that does have its own social media accounts, I know many counties are in that kind of situation. We encourage you to share CareerForce MN social content on your accounts.
We do have a question or a comment. Is LinkedIn considered social media?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so right now on the screen, you can see numbers that are not very overwhelming for the CareerForce social accounts. Obviously, we want to gain more followers, and we are confident we will be able to do that. But this is also just kind of showing it takes a long time to build a following unless you're able to do a paid follower account or have someone who's really dedicated to doing a lot of strategic following and other work in order to gain your followers quickly. So it takes a lot to gain followers. If you're starting up a new account, it can take a long time before you've really gained enough followers to have an impact. And then I see there's another question.
Oh, okay.
Can we list if we're a CareerForce partner on our Facebook page? Yes. Yes, you can. And that is covered in the CareerForce logo policy, at least touched on there. It will be covered in the social media policy as well. We hope to have that CareerForce logo policy approved by the executive leadership of MOB, TWDB, and DEED here in the next, hoping the next couple of weeks. And then we can share that out.
And then I see another question about WhatsApp. WhatsApp is really, it's a texting technology, so it's a way that generally kids get around texting in a format that their parents can see. So I would highly recommend that we not be using it. It also is used for foreign and international audiences. It's a way to text internationally and not have charges associated with that or not go outside of your plan. So it's really not a technology at this point that I would see any of us using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what we have now just is a lot to work with too, so.
It's been funny because on LinkedIn, I'll get some connections asking me if I want to connect with WhatsApp app. I'm like,
yep.
No.
Yep.
And there's a second part to that question as well. Are there guidelines on how we use this particular?
So I think the basic answer is we don't at DEED use it. We frankly don't use any texting technology at this point. We do have that capability in some limited tools through GovDelivery, but we have not used it because we don't collect cell phone numbers in most of our programs. So
we have another comment. LinkedIn does not look to have a
share since 2 days ago, okay. I think. How can we get more items to share on LinkedIn? We certainly, I will say I need to do a better job of getting more content out there. Content on the website, blog posts, items like that to share on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, and also have to do a better job of differentiating between what we're posting on those 3 channels. They're different audiences. So it is a work in progress. We are working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another question about, can staff time be used to share content? That answer is yes. The DEED social media policy comes into play where it's like, of course you can't spend all day on Facebook when you're at your job, but absolutely we need all of you to be sharing our content, because otherwise we're never going to get anywhere. Some of you have hundreds and thousands of followers who know you, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yes, Chet, to answer your question, absolutely be sharing our content. You all are welcome to create your own content on your pages under your own names, as long as you're not claiming to be CareerForce and making it seem like it's an official CareerForce post.
So we have another comment, and we'll make sure we read the comments to everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so here one, working in a non-metro area, how would you suggest we put out our location-specific events without using our local CareerForce FD page?
Okay, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
We have some examples and things, so let's, I'll make a note of that question, and then let's dig in here to this slide, and then we'll answer that when we get to the examples. And
then there was just one other part of that. We have a local following, but we do not follow the main CP page, or what would you suggest we rename that page to be? So, that was just the other part.
Okay.
Okay, and some of the chat's cut off for me. I can't see you.
Oh, okay. Are we done with this slide?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
I can go into this one too.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
So this is kind of just an overview of the type of posts that we do on the various social media challenges here. So just kind of running through these. So like a Facebook post, that's kind of just your free option, and that's only going to be seen by the people who also follow that Facebook account. And even if you do follow a certain Facebook account, you're not always going to see everything they post, because Facebook's algorithm keeps changing and updating, and even though you do follow certain things, they're always pushing stuff at you, and you're not always able to discern in your news feed what exactly you always see. So sometimes you won't even see all the posts that are put out, even if you do follow them. And so that's kind of where we get into this with like Facebook events and Facebook posts, where we talk about free and paid options. So with like Facebook posts and events that are free on our accounts, the only people that are going to see those are people who already follow us, and like I said, even they might not see it. So that's kind of where Facebook's really kind of making everyone do this kind of pay-to-play method, where if you really want your content to get out there, you really have to start paying for it. And so some pros with paid options are that you get to target people or geography or age and gender like that. So to kind of run down, like a boosted Facebook post, this one's kind of your most basic paid option. You don't get as many targeting options. It's basically taking a post that you did and just kind of blowing it out there to more people. You can have a little bit of say in the audience, but it's not as targeted as like a paid ad is. So that's something, if maybe you have $50 or $100 and you just really want to kind of blast that out there to your audience for a couple of days, that's a good option to start with. Going down the line to Facebook ads that are paid, this one is your most targeted when it comes to finding your audiences. So you'll have the option to target by geography, demographic, age, gender, like that. So it's helpful to kind of narrow down that audience when you are starting to do those kind of ads. And then tweets kind of follow along that same line, where a promoted tweet is kind of like a Facebook boosted post, where it's kind of just kind of blasted out there for a day or two for maybe $50 to $100 to kind of basically your same audience. You don't get to target it as much as an actual Twitter ad campaign. And Twitter ads are kind of the same thing. We've done targeted Twitter ads, and I still think like Facebook and LinkedIn are kind of the two best when it comes to targeting your audience. Twitter has certain options of how to narrow it down, but it's mostly geographic, so it's kind of hit or miss sometimes with Twitter ads. LinkedIn posts, same thing. If you're following the LinkedIn account, you're probably going to see it in the newsfeed, maybe not. You're not always sure. But LinkedIn paid ads are great because they really have the info that really comes down to play with employment. People on LinkedIn, they're going to be honest with their work history as opposed to a Facebook or a Twitter. So because of that, when we target those audiences, we really know we're targeting them. But LinkedIn also charges you for that because that information is so valuable. So LinkedIn is probably the most expensive option when it comes to targeted campaigns, but it's kind of quality over quantity. You're really going to reach that target you really want, but you will pay for it a little bit more. Did you want to talk about this one, or what?
I can talk real quick and then you can. So just some ideas for social media. If you have an opportunity to gather some testimonials, this is like something that doesn't really rise to the level of a success story, but say you just had an awesome workshop and you had people coming out saying how amazing that was, how it changed their perspective, whatever, you know, really a good response. You may want to write some of those down so we can use those as testimonials to promote future workshops. That's just one idea. Could be same thing for a recurring career fair, other events of that nature. It'd be great if we could get a photo of the person who's making the testimonial in connection with what they say. In that case, they would need to complete the CareerForce release form because we'd be using their image. And then just kind of generally with photos, you know, it's very hard at workshops and events where we don't have releases from people and there is an expectation of privacy, how to have kind of creative or at least energized looking photos that don't show participants' faces. You can show your presenter's face, of course, but not wanting to show faces. So here are just some ideas of, you know, showing getting a picture when the presenter is doing something animated, like that guy there is using his hands, I don't know, a little bit more animated, or an engaged audience shot where you have people with their hands raised, at least then it's not all just backs of heads. So just some ideas for some photos, knowing that we have a fair amount of limitations on them.
And I would just say the reason for this is it plays into Facebook and, you know, in all channels algorithms as well as engagement. If you put a post out there with just text, the majority of people are going to scroll right on by. So anything we can do with a photo in real time is going to boost that engagement, boost the number of people on Facebook that might actually see your post.
Do you have another comment?
And then the other thing I was going to say, when you were talking about testimonials, all of a sudden I thought about how important testimonials are on travel. And so when people are looking, whether at Yelp or on TripAdvisor, and they're looking at what hotel should I stay at, or what restaurants, or what trip, opportunities or activities I want to take on, I just feel like so many people read those things, and so when I looked at testimonials about workshops or activities in our CareerForce locations, wow, that is just a great idea because it certainly will drive traffic to all of the great things that we're doing out there.
That was really a good point, Jackie. That's Jackie Buck, by the way, who entered the room. We have a comment, too. Is there a document available that outlines that we can and cannot post, and or how can we post them? Or, for example, CareerForce in Wilmer offers manufacturing training at no cost. I uploaded the flyer and posted it.
Yep, I think let's keep going, and I think we'll get to that. And if we don't, Melissa, you can reach back out to us. But I think we're going to answer that. And just to keep in mind that we are working on a social media policy that will, I think, get at the heart of more of this for you guys. But let's keep going. And Melissa, if we don't get you, let us know. Okay.
Okay. So this was for the St. Cloud Area Career Fair. This was a paid Facebook ad that we did last September and August, and this kind of just shows an example of what kind of results you can get with a budget for promoting your events. So for this one, we targeted the St. Cloud area with a 50-mile radius. When it comes to career fairs, we kind of don't target much beyond that just because we want to kind of cast a wide net because you don't know who necessarily is out there looking for work or knows somebody who's looking for work. So we like to kind of keep it broad when it comes to career fairs. So with this campaign, we reached 60,000 people. And by reach, that means people that were in that demographic that saw the ad. And then for landing page views, we had over 1,500, and by landing page views, that's essentially clicks or people that actually waited to go to the website for it to load and actually saw it. So sometimes there's clicks and then there's landing page views, and clicks literally means you clicked on it, but it could have been an accident. That still counts as a click. Landing page view is kind of the new standard of, well, you actually went to the website and you waited for it to load, and you actually saw the content. So we kind of are going off of those nowadays. And so for that, for cost per click or page view, it was 90 cents. So it was pretty cost effective, and this was with a budget of $13.50. But even a budget of $500, or, you know, it's just a matter of what you have to work with. Facebook can take your budget and kind of stretch it out for as long as you want it to go. And so next example, this was for the same thing, the St. Cloud Area Career Fair, but we also did a paid Facebook event in tandem with the Facebook ad, just to kind of reach different audiences. Same time frame, same kind of audience, just that 50-mile radius around St. Cloud. This one reached 30,000 people, and it had 350 event responses. And by event responses, that can mean someone saw the event, they said that they were interested in attending, or they could have shared it with somebody or made a comment or something like that that just showed that they responded to that event. And it also received 105,000 impressions, and by impressions, that just means it was viewed. So if you were scrolling in your Facebook news feed and you saw the event but didn't interact with it, that's still considered an impression. So we kind of like to really focus on people who actually responded or clicked on the ad more, but it's good to just kind of see how many times that thing is being shared to people. So we had 637 clicks, and that was with a total of $800. So it's kind of nice. You can mix and match if you think a Facebook event versus a Facebook ad would work. We can really work with whatever you have budget-wise and just kind of give our opinion on what might work well. And so this was kind of some results from those campaigns from the St. Cloud Area Career Fair. There was around 350 people in attendance. And after the event, they send out a survey to people who attended and just kind of asking, how did you hear about this event? So it was really pleasing to see that a majority of the people who had heard of the event had seen the Twitter or the Facebook or the ad or whatever. And so it is nice to know that people are remembering where they saw the ad and how they remember seeing the event. So it is nice to see that people actually do see these events and these ads and actually do show up to the event. A different example that we've done recently that's kind of newer, we have worked with TAA recently, and they have been wanting to reach very specific audiences of people who, like this example, they were former IBM employees who were laid off but were still eligible for training and other benefits. So we weren't necessarily sure how many people were in the area still, so we kind of had to figure out how are we going to target these people. So with this example, we used a Facebook ad, and Facebook targeting it's not quite as good as LinkedIn's. I mean, you have to kind of cast a wider net. So with this, we targeted anybody within a 50-mile radius of Rochester who had an interest in IBM, and that doesn't necessarily mean they work at IBM, but if they're interested in an IBM as a company, they might know somebody who did or does. So we kind of have to work with what we've got targeting-wise. So that's kind of how we narrowed that down. The ads reached over 44,000 people, had over 700 clicks and 150,000 impressions, and that was with a total of $1,500. And then in tandem with that, we also went and did a LinkedIn campaign as well, which is a lot more targeted because we knew they worked for IBM and they were in the Rochester area, and so knowing that people on LinkedIn are more kind of honest and open about their work.
So this is the Facebook event still.
Oh, sorry. So we also did a Facebook event. So Facebook ad, Facebook event, same story, same area. This was $1,000 for the event. It was great because for this they had multiple sessions. So it was a couple days that they had at different times. And so for that Facebook event, it was great because if someone was interested at the 9 a.m. session, they could say they were interested, or if it was the 11. So it's just more options, and it gives people, more things that they can see when it's an event that's multiple days, multiple times, that you might not always get across in just a Facebook ad. You don't have as much space and copy to really get all those points across. Okay, and so this was the LinkedIn ad that was also in tandem with those Facebook ads and events. But once again, they were really able to find those people in Rochester who had interest in IBM, who had either worked at or had currently worked at IBM. So it reached 24,000 people and had a decent amount of clicks, 300, 96,000 impressions, and that was $1,000. So yeah, LinkedIn ads ran from the same time frame, 50-mile radius around Rochester, but almost 150 clicks, 21,000 impressions, and that was $777. And like I was saying, they're more expensive typically, but people on LinkedIn are going to be more forthcoming about where they work than maybe on Facebook or other places.
We do have a question, comment. Does the cost of social media come out of local budgets?
Yes. So these are all things that, for example, in the case of the St. Cloud Career Fair, when they're doing an event, they think about, okay, we want to do advertising, and rather than taking out a billboard like you might have in the past, they contact us and work with us, and Darren puts together these social media campaigns based on their local budgets.
Thank you.
Just to help you kind of, like we had talked about, some partner organizations, counties have their own social media presence, and so you may be wanting to do a post about an upcoming event on your social media. And so if you do that, you may want a graphic, something like we had talked about, visual to grab people's attention. So we have uploaded 8 different kind of generic graphics. And by generic, I mean they don't have any specific event information on them. They're more just like calling attention to upcoming workshops or an on-site hiring event, and then in the text for your post, you can put the specifics in and then link through to additional information. So this, again, is for someone who works with an entity that does have their own social media, so that way you can use CareerForce branded graphics when you're promoting CareerForce events.
So an example of this would be you work for the county and your county social media has a channel with 1,000 followers, and you want to let them know about your upcoming on-site hiring event. So there is a little graphic here you could send to your social media person at the county and give them the details and say, hey, can you post this on our social media channel for us?
Okay, and then just kind of our regular communications reminders. The monthly staff and partner webinar, which you are on right now, happens every first Thursday of the month, barring state holidays. We also have the weekly staff and partner emails that go out every Thursday, usually around noon. It did go out early this morning because of today's webinar. And then the For Staff and Partner section of CareerForceMN.com, which is regularly updated pretty much daily. So if you're looking for resources, for example, the social media graphics that we discussed here in the webinar, you can find them in the CareerForce library in the For Staff and Partner section of CareerForceMN.com. You just have to be logged into your staff and partner account in order to access that content. And with that, I think we're handing it over to Lisa.
Okay, great.
Unless anyone has additional communications questions.
And I would just add one last note. The fact that we only have 120 followers on our CareerForce account tells me that not all of you or all of our partners are yet following us. And that's really how we build momentum and get new followers is, so for example, if you are a county employee and your county account is not following CareerForce, if you could encourage them to do that, that would help our followers grow, and likewise, we would then be able to see the county's posts and follow the county and share their things as well. So really that's why they call it social media, because we all have to be doing this together to kind of make it really work.
Another great idea. Thank you, Laura. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the CareerForce MN.com updates. And we just have a few little updates on the platform. We'll go over the password reset positive message. And then we'll have frequently asked help desk questions about the career fairs and browsers. So the updates, I just want to say that we have every month go over the updates to the platform. And so I have a question for you all out there. Is that something that you are interested in? Is that something that you like to see? Is it something that you don't like to see? Or is it something that you don't really care about one way or the other? That would kind of help us gauge to see how you feel about these updates, because, you know, if it doesn't matter to you, we need to know that too. So this would be just a good opportunity. If you want, go ahead and just put in the comments at some point to say if you like the updates on the platform or not. And then the career fairs, Rita asked last month as far as what topics that we want to talk about, and I wanted to say something about the career fairs because the CareerForce help desk gets a lot of inquiries about the career fairs. We probably average no minimum than 1 to 2, up to 5 requests from employers a week. So that says that we need to make sure staff in the field are really comfortable with setting up career fairs. And then we'll just say a little bit of a reminder about the browsers. All right, so the positive message after a password reset. So if you or staff, employer, or even a customer request to reset their password, that first image, the top left, is what they would see as soon as they click on forget password. They're going to be asked to enter in their username or password, and their username or email address. And as soon as they enter that in there, they will get an email with a link to reset it. And then after they get that reset, then they say, then they have a certain amount of time to change their password. And as soon as that password has been changed, they'll get this message, password update has been successful. So hopefully you see that process is pretty easy, and now we're given a positive message that it's been done. The frequently asked help desk questions. How do I find a listing of career fairs? So I'll just read through this. You can find the Attend a Career Fair page in several ways. You can go to and I'll just read this and we'll go right out to the website. You can go to the events page and select View More Career Fairs and Events, enter career fairs in the search field, go to the employer attract, and we'll go through this. So really what it is trying to find on the platform, how do you find information on the career fairs? And Rita just recently added a great link to make that happen. We're just going to go out there right now, and so we can see that process in trying to find information on the career fairs. All right. Okay, so career fairs. And Rita, you're saying the first one we should go to is the employer. You want to go through that new link first?
Yeah, you can go to Attract Talent and then Get Started. And then it's there in the links, meet potential employees at a career fair. And then on the career seeker side, it's in quite a few different spots too.
So here is.
So that's the Attend a Career Fair page. Open to suggestions on how we can improve this. This has been out there for a while, but basically it's just broken down. Everyone who clicks on a link about attending a career fair goes to the same page, both career seekers and employers, and that's because otherwise we'd have to be maintaining 2 pages with this with the content. If you think that's confusing, we could, I think, split that out without too big of a deal. So right here from this page, career seekers can just obviously scroll down and look at the huge listing of career fairs that are there on that page. And that is the listing of career fairs that is submitted through an online form, vetted by deed staff, and then and then entered, so they show up in this calendar. And just making a note, too, that the goal is eventually to have all events showing up in the same calendar on CareerForce. Right now, clearly we have this listing, and then we also have the regular events calendar. That's not very handy for people. We know that's not the way we want to keep things, but for now, this is how we need to do this. Then if you look in the employer section there, they also have information that's of interest to them, how to make the best use out of a career fair, how to have their open position show up on CareerForceMN.com. But probably the most important for them is the link right up at the top that says fill out this form. And that will take them to the form, which you are probably also familiar with because CareerForce staff also need to complete that form if they want their career fairs to show up in the career fair listing. So that information is completed, submitted, vetted by deed, and then shows up in the career fair listing. I'm wondering if we have any questions in chat on this.
It says, should we be listing area career fairs on the site even if CareerForce deed are not sponsors or co-sponsors?
Yep, that's what this page was created for. And this page actually used to live on the deed website. And it's been the same process, the same procedure forever. But what I would say is, rather than you guys putting these events in, the goal would be to encourage the partners or the people running those events to put the event in rather than you guys. That's why that form is there on the public website. So you should be telling all of your partners, hey, if you're having a career fair that we're not a part of, here's a place to put it and still get it in front of all of our customers.
Thank you, Laura. I have another question or comment. For employers, add the link for employer navigators, maybe?
Add it where?
Here, instead of to find out of our career fair contacts, the CareerForce location. We could work on that. We could,
employers add the link for employer navigators, maybe?
Red.
Okay.
So what you're saying is add a link, so if
they could find an employer navigator directly instead of making them go to a location, find the, you know what I mean? We could definitely
so
think
that we
about
have to, would we list the employer navigators per location, or would
that's what we have right now.
We already do, yeah. Yep.
So Robin, just to be clear, and just answer back in the chat, you're thinking to add that right here under employers in this section, contact an employer navigator?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good.
And yeah, that was a really good discussion on that. So any more questions or any more comments or suggestions, like Rita said, please send them, and that way we can find that we can use that information to improve this area. Should we go to that where that one document is? Okay. So Rita and I were talking a bit earlier, and we were talking about a form that Deanne, of course, perfectly created for us. A form that will be you can use just like, I'm just going to go there instead of trying to guess what that would be. So you would go to for staff and partners. I have to log in first. And then we'll get to that form and you'll see how handy it is.
So if you go to staff and partner reference materials under CareerForce Library.
Yep, it's right there. You were on it.
And then under CareerForceMN.com resources, you'll see add a career fair to the career fair listing. So that's the form we just looked at. But then below that, you'll see a line, add a career fair to MAD. So it shows up as an event on your CareerForce locations page. So right now, the advice from Mike Lang is to do both of these things. So submit the form, and then also enter an event in MAD. So that way it shows up as an event when a person goes to your CareerForce locations page. It'll show up as an event affiliated with that location. So these are the instructions for doing that. Those are posted, like you saw there, on the For Staff and Partners section of the website. And again, once we have a unified calendar, this won't be necessary. but Mike Lang does advise doing this, so that way people see the event on your location page, and they also see the career fair in the career fair listing, because that's where people are going to look for career fairs.
And that too kind of has always been the recommended model. We created that career fairs page to really try and encompass all those things that we don't do, that aren't our, our partners' events. We get lots and lots of calls here at the state to say, hey, I'm having this hiring event. Don't you want to let your career seekers know? And so that career fairs page was really created as that kind of external means for other people to submit stuff. So definitely, kind of all along, you guys should have been submitting them to both places. And yep, we know it's a pain. We're
working on it.
We're trying.
And then we just went through this, so we don't need to go through that again.
But maybe just to reiterate too, that this is, again, one of the frequently asked questions that comes into the help desk. This is something that we're going to try to do on each of these webinars, is take questions that Lisa and other folks on the help desk are hearing a lot, and answering them, because obviously we know there are questions about them. So this was one that came up.
Great. I appreciate that, Rita. It looks like we have a comment. I recently discovered that you have to select a hiring event title that needs staff job seeker registration on it, or it won't post to the events page. If you choose the no registration required, it doesn't show up in the event.
Thank you, Virginia. And I think that is covered on that one-sheeter about how you have to do that in order to get it to show up. I am not an expert in MAD, so I don't know the ins and outs on that, but I do believe it is covered on that sheet.
And then also she had said that would be in MAD. And then Mike Lang did also say that he can provide training on this and one of his monthly job service webinars as well. So you can look forward to that. And then another one that we get at the help desk is helping somebody find information on the website. So it's just something that it might be helpful for you out there, is to remind customers that they need to use a browser that is compatible with CareerForceMN.com. And as you see the list, and probably every one of you know that by heart, the Safari, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. And the reason why this is brought up, because we'll get customers calling in and they'll say, well, that's not working, and why I can't get my password correctly done, or I can't register. And the question that I always go back is to ask them is, well, what browser are you using? And so then we go through that and we troubleshoot that, and we find out they're using IE, Internet Explorer. And the other interesting thing I discovered is some of the customers don't know what a browser is. I know. And so that might just be something that you might want to remind them, explaining to them that is just an internet application so they can access the internet. And so that might help them a little bit. And then maybe you can tell them too what those tabs are when you open up another tab, and they can show them what browser they are using, just as an opportunity to educate them on what browsers are. So that would help them. They won't have to call the CareerForce or the help desk to say, I'm having this problem. We could eliminate that problem right away. Now, granted, a lot of people who call in are probably working at home and accessing the platform that way. But it's just something for you to remember that you might want to remind your customers.
And I would just throw in that is a universal problem that customers are going to have when they go to any website now in the future. Internet Explorer doesn't exist anymore to Microsoft. They've replaced it with Microsoft Edge. And so all new websites will not be supported on Internet Explorer, and even old sites are just not working in Internet Explorer. So the more you can do to just kind of help educate your customers that it's not CareerForce, but it's the world, and they really need to stop using Internet Explorer.
Good point, Laura. I think at some point, is it just going to go away completely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just won't even be there as an option.
Yep.
The sooner the better.
Right.
All right, okay, well, I'm done with the updates, and it looks like we're going to now move on to the Employer Navigator updates, and we have Jackie Buck with us.
So hi everyone, it's Jackie Buck and I'm the Director of Employer Services, and I'm going to provide you this month's Employer Navigator update on employer engagement. And this is one of the questions that is often asked, not only by many of you, but a number of individuals here in the First National Bank building, is how do we engage local employers in CareerForce and in our actual centers? One great way to include this is to ask employers to speak at your workshop. And I know one of the things that you do a lot is have, you know, your creative job search, you have resume workshops, you have interview workshops. And I guess what I would just say is, you know, encourage an employer to be a guest speaker at one of your workshops. Whether it be an interview or resume workshop, when you're asking them to come and participate, ask them for specific information that you're looking to gain from their, you know, little speech or their little participation in the workshop. So whether it be asking them to maybe provide 3 interview tips that are important within their company from an employer perspective, or things that they first do when they're looking at a resume, what are the ideas or the things that pop out at them, what's really important to them. I love the thing, a resume deal breaker, because I know when I review resumes, one of the things that just jumps off the page at me is spelling. And, you know, we have so many ways in which to do spell check and so many things that you can do. But it doesn't just say, you know, spelling, but it also is referring to attention to detail and how important are these specific things that individuals are looking for. So engage your local employers, invite them in, have them speak at your workshops. I know some of the local CareerForce locations are actually doing this, and that was where we got some of the ideas from. I also want to say is don't forget about traditional marketing in using that to market our services in the CareerForce locations. A lot of you are aware of your local chambers, and one of the things you want to do is maybe reach out to them. They, in many cases, do email blasts every month to their businesses. So it might even be a way to ask them if they would be willing to come in and speak at your workshops. And have them contact you as an employer navigator. So yeah, I just talked to somebody in Greater Minnesota, for example, in Grand Rapids, and they said, yeah, they would love to hear more about how employers might be able to engage from the chamber into some of the things that are happening in northwestern Minnesota. Another thing would be job clubs, which you should be able to see up there right now. Invite local employers to speak at a job club if you're not already doing that. They not only can speak about their company, their job opportunities, they can talk about maybe what's happening in the local community. So that's not only informative, but it also helps to drive attendance of career seekers to your events. So it could be, you know, when you're advertising and you've got one of your key employers coming up there, it's an opportunity for people to participate. The next one is really talking about digital outreach that ties a lot to everything you've heard from our great communications team today, talking about social media. So continue to ask yourself, how can digital outreach help play a role in engaging employers? So you may want to have employers who are participating in some of your CareerForce location events actually tag us, CareerForce MN, in the post, whether it be using the @ signal and just adding that to @CareerForce MN. You can also tag their company in the post as well, so we get a lot more outreach to others who are taking a look at how having that digital footprint can really make a difference. So those are just a few ideas. It's kind of the employer navigation minute, I guess, today, and it's helping to keep us on time. But we'd love to hear from you right now via the chat function. If you have ways that you are engaging employers in our CareerForce locations, and if not, if you don't have anything you want to add right now.
We do have a comment.
Okay. You can also feature your idea next month.
Great. That was really good, Jackie. Here's a comment. I am from Grand Rapids, and part of the chamber I have asked them before, but to no avail. So looks like there was an attempt there.
So I am going to ask that person, you may want to reach out to Marla Beatty, B-E-A-T-Y. Marla is the person that I talked to this morning who serves on a rapid response team, but she lives up in the Grand Rapids area, and she has had some luck with the Grand Rapids Chamber. So maybe reach out to her. It's marla.beatty@state.mn.us.
Can you spell it B-E-A-T-Y?
Yes.
Yep. And who would be like your workforce strategy consultant in that area? Maybe that person too has.
Could help.
Yep.
Chet Bodine. Chet.bodine@state.mn.us is the workforce strategy consultant for the Northwest region, and he might be able to help as well.
Can you spell that for me, please?
Chet.Bodine, B-O-D-I-N.
Thank you. Great. All right, I have another comment. I'm doing Coffee and Careers which is a networking activity where I show the TED Talk, how to have good conversations, and the employers and job seekers discuss the talk and then have a chance to converse with each other in more of an informal way rather than a hiring event. Awesome.
Oh, and I'm thinking this is in Ramsey County.
Yep, Heather, right?
Heather, great idea. I love it.
And what's your participation like at those events, Heather? And have you had any kind of anecdotal information from career seekers and employers about what they think about it? Not to put you on the spot, but when we hear a good idea, let's share it and get it out to everyone.
Great idea.
And you can always add more, and again, you can send comments and suggestions to the CareerForceMN.com as well. It looks like she responded. The last one was for women and small business ideas, and that was well received.
Nice.
Any other comments? Otherwise, we would really love to hear what's happening, what is happening out in your area. So please don't hesitate to, connect with us over the next month, because we'd love to be able to showcase some of your ideas at next month's employer update.
Looks like we have another comment. This month is St. Paul College Wine Certificate Program, a couple of hotels. Wow,
I don't know what the wine certificate program is, but I'm in.
Me too.
I want that certificate.
Wow, I've never heard that before. Oh, but it's probably for a hotel, so you can serve wine at a hotel.
Heather, you've got a lot of interest around this table, so feel free to send Laura and Jackie an invite.
And it looks like Heather invited everyone to visit.
Okay.
And so the other thing is, I just want to go back up to a comment that was earlier about the MAD. Let me see if I can find that. I think I went too far. About the browsers. With the change in the browser function, is it possible to make MinnesotaWorks.net open in one of those browsers?
And I did just get the answer on this. There is a little of a disconnect here because there are different recommended browsers for CareerForceMN.com versus MinnesotaWorks.net. But you can open MinnesotaWorks.net. You can still open it in Internet Explorer, but you can also open it in Edge and Firefox. But you should not use MinnesotaWorks.net with Chrome or Safari.
Mm-hmm. So the other question to that then, Rita, if they don't have, I'm sure, does everybody have Edge? So then you have to make a request for that?
So Edge, and what was the other one for Mac or for Minnesota Works?
IE, so Internet Explorer, Edge, and Firefox.
Okay.
And that's in the chat now too.
Okay.
And I know that Firefox has been one of the recommended browsers for many years. So if people were having problems in the past with that, probably a lot of people have been using Firefox for Minnesota Works.
Okay.
So the two browsers where you can open either would be Edge and Firefox.
Do not use Chrome and Safari. Julie Toski had just sent in.
And that's for MinnesotaWorks.net, just to be clear. We're talking about MinnesotaWorks.net here, not CareerForceMN.com.
And thank goodness, a little plug for the integration piece. They are working on integrating the Minnesota Works and the CareerForceMN.com platforms. All right. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, send them to the CareerForceMN.com help desk, the CareerForce at statemn.us help desk, and also we have added to the contact list here the social media requests. You can send them to the deed.communications at statemn.us.
If you're a DEED staff employee, I would ask that you put it into the communications request portal. That just really helps us track it, and the work gets assigned right away in the system then, and it doesn't get lost in email. But so if you are in the field and you are having what I would call a large-scale hiring event or a unique opportunity that you want us to promote on the general CareerForce channels, please feel free to send us that information. What I would ask you not to do, however, is to send us every class that you have. You know, clearly we can't promote 50 interviewing workshops a day. So you really need to use social media for those big, impactful, you know, unique, you've got more than 10 employers, it's a industry, you know, a transportation heavy haul hiring event, and they're going to get to drive a Bobcat. You know, those really kind of unique events are what we should be promoting on the CareerForce channels.
Okay, very good. And we'll have the recording of this webinar posted shortly. Lisa's very excited. She got the editing software finally, so we'll get last month's and this month's webinars posted as soon as possible in the For Staff and Partner section. So,
and it is 11 o'clock on the mark.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.